Hey guys, how's it going? It's Dang here. Welcome back to another build guide video. So today we're looking at the Crusader's Legacy of Nightmare Condemn or Vacuum Bombardment build for patch 2.4.1 season 6. So we're gonna go through everything, you know, the gears, the why it works and all that stuff, okay? But also at the same time, this build is not for everyone because of how its playing style is. It's a little bit more difficult, and also how restrictive the equipment items that is required for it. So pretty much all the equipment item needs to be ancient for it to actually really work. So it's very restrictive right there, and also at the same time it does have its limitation, like all builds. So the limitation is pretty much what will decide on how far you get into the Greater Rift. So Paragon levels, how high they are, how high your gem levels are, if you have ancient items, and if they're augmented, and also lastly is the Greater Rift generation that you get. So pretty much that's the limitation, and that's it. And enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys in a bit.
I wish I could do that. Patience. Fading. Not ready yet.
Alright, so welcome back. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that little snippet video. So I want to start off with stats priority first. So our main stat is going to be cooldown reduction. So we want at least 60 to 62% in cooldown reduction. A reason for that is because of that, one, our bombardment will be synchronized with our conventions of element when it cycles through with physical damage, so that we can kill things faster. And also our Archer's champion will be up as much as possible, and all our other cooldowns will be up as much as possible as well, okay? But mainly for bombardment. Next is going to be increase in physical plus damage, because that is what Thorns is. And then speaking of Thorns is next. So I'm going to give you an example right here. We want Thorns in our secondary stats right there. As you can see, secondary, it has Thorns increase in damage, right? So I rerolled Goldfind into Thorns damage, but when you look at my primary, I do have increased justice damage by X amount, which is totally useless to us. It's a choice that you will have to make because that is given to me. I chose to increase in Thorns instead of rerolling increased justice damage into all resist. So it's up to you. Next is going to be increase in bombardment damage, and then also next is going to be chance to area damage increase there. And lastly is going to be pretty much all resist, armor, or life regen, whichever one that fits in. And now next stats we're going to talk about is strength versus vitality, because I've already covered it, but we're going to do it anyways. Heart of the Iron does increase Thorns by vitality, but at the same time it doesn't really increase our toughness as much as strength does. So strength also increases our toughness, but as well as Thorns too. And also we're going to be using the passive finery, where it increases our strength by 1.5% per gem socketed, and that includes the legendary gems as well. So that means you have 10 gems socketed, which means that you have 15% increase in strength itself, okay? And overall, strength really does help you to survive more than vitality. So that's why you want to choose strength in your Paragon level and in your gems as well. But okay, and that's pretty much it. All right, so let's go into gears. I know you guys hate it when I say gears, but I don't care. You know what? Blizzard said gears too. Okay, so our first gear item we need is going to be the Legacy of Nightmares ring, the Litany of the Undaunted, and the Wailing Host right here. So when we equipped it, we get a 2-piece set bonus. While this is your only set item bonus, every ancient item you have equipped increases your damage dealt by 100%, and it reduces your damage taken by 4% per item equipped. Okay, so that means that every single slot, equipment slot right here, you equip with ancient will increase your damage, and you have at least 13 slot. That means 1300% increase in damage. Somebody do the math for damage reduction for your piece. Thanks. And also to clarify, you can still equip a set item on this as long as the set item is not active, or sorry, the bonus is not active. So let's say Seeker of the Light right here, the 2 set bonus, I can equip this, but as long as that set bonus is not active, we're all Gucci and good to go. Okay, so we're gonna equip the shoulders from now because there's really not that many good shoulders. So shoulders doesn't really matter. Next is going to be the Belt of Trove. So every X amount, so 6 to 8 seconds, call down bombardment on a random and nearby enemy. So the highest is 8, so we always want to have 6. Okay, so I'm going to equip this. Now the bombardment cooldown on this is separate from your bombardment cooldown on your skill, and also whatever rune that you have equipped on your skills will affect the Belt of Trove. Okay. Next is going to be our Hellfire Amulet, which is pretty much best in slots, so that we gain an extra passive. Now, if you can't get Hellfire Amulet, you can get the Flavor of Time, which helps to reduce our cooldowns as well. If not that, then any of the other amulets that will help you to absorb damage and heals yourself. Okay. Next is going to be Lyric's Crown, no brainer there, to reduce our cooldown reduction. Then we have the Heart of the Iron for chest. Now, here's the thing for chest. I'm using Heart of the Iron because it's a really, really good item for me that I found versus all the other Aquila Cuirass, which were shitty. So if you have a really good Heart of the Iron like I do, then equip it. If you don't, then put it in your Canai cube. It does have a min max on the legendary power right there. Okay, so most of the time you'll have Aquila Cuirass equipped, and then the Heart of the Iron, which will be in your Canai cube. Okay. For pants, we have Hexing Pants of Mr. Yan right there. So, with its legendary power, your resource generation and damage is increased by 25% while moving and decreased by 25% while standing still. With this build itself, you're constantly moving. Don't fucking stand still, please. And don't stand in fire or green shit. Next is going to be Illusory Boots right here. So you may move unhindered through enemies, which means you won't be cock-blocked and die because you can't move out of enemies. So that's why we want these boots itself. Then we want Strong Arm Bracers right here. So enemies hit by knockback suffers 25% increase, X amount 20 to 30% damage for 5 seconds when they land. So that means that if it's a knockback or a knock up or a pulling type of skills or animation, it'll be affected. It'll activate these Strong Arm Bracers. Okay. So next is going to be Lidless Wall right here to increase our physical plus damage. And I have a useless stats. A critical hit chance increased by X amount, but I chose Thorns. I chose Thorns. Next is going to be Gloves right here, saying Art Shoes Gauge. So the first time an elite pack damages you, gain and absorb shield equal to X amount of your maximum life for 10 seconds for survivability. And lastly is going to be the Swift Mount. Now this we really do need because we're going to be using the Bane of the Stricken. So that means that because of this and because of our cooldown reduction, our horsey right here, Steed Charge with Spike Barding, is always going to be constantly up, which means that we are constantly increasing the stack of the Bane of the Stricken so that it won't fall off. So that's why we really do want the Swift Mount versus any other equipment. Okay, so I do have others here. We'll go into that afterwards. So let's go into the Canai cube first. With the Canai cube, we want the Mortal Drama. I love fucking drama. For our weapons, double the number of bombardment impacts. So that means that we can kill things faster. For chest, you really do want Heart of the Iron here versus Aquila Cuirass. We've already talked about this. Next, lastly, is going to be Conventions of Elements. increase your thorns damage by 200%. Okay, so for our legendary gems, we're gonna be using the Bane of the Stricken right here. This is really great. As you can see, when I was doing the Rift Garden, I had like little time left, but because of this gem itself, it died really quick. Okay, so that's why we want Bane of the Stricken, and also because of our Swift Mount and our cooldown reduction, like I've mentioned before, we're always constantly building that stack up. Next is going to be the Bane of the Trap. No brainer, increase our damage. And lastly is Boyarsky's Chip right here, adds thorns damage. No brainer right there. For our gems, we're going to be using the strength gems right there. Now, if you feel like you're constantly dying, it's because one, your Paragon levels are not high enough, your gem levels not high enough, and if you want to use diamond gems, you can. That's totally up to you. If you want to be more tanky or more damage, that's really up to you right there. Lastly is going to be the diamond gems for the helm, so that increase in our cooldown reduction, and then the topaz for our weapon to increase in our thorns damage. Now, thorns itself is not affected by our weapon damage. Okay, so you can reroll that primary weapon damage right there into something else, but because this is what I was given, that's what you see. Now, for the extra items here, it's up to you. You can use Doombringer to increase your physical damage if you want to. That's up to you. And then for our shields, for more survivability, you can use the Hollow Bulwark right here. Your Iron Skin also increases your block amount by X amount. So min is 45, max is 60. I got the shittier side. So that's up to you. The final witness right here. So shield glare now hits all enemies around you. So we're going to be using shield glare. The problem with shield glare is that it does a cone effect, where it doesn't hit all around, which means that you have to be at a certain angle to be able to hit the enemies so that your bombardment can have all that effect right there to kill things faster. So that's up to you to decide which shield you want to go with. Okay, and that is pretty much our gears. I said gears. Okay. Alright, so for our Paragon levels, so we want to have 25% increase in movement speed. So we're going to match this with our boots. So I have 11, so I need 14. So I have 25% increase in movement speed. Then everything else in strength. Remember, strength does increase in thorns and armor, and it gets multiplied by finery. And our armor is also multiplied by Akarat's champion profit too, okay? So we have a lot of toughness. For our offensiveness, cooldown reduction is our main thing, and that's pretty much it. You can put everything else in whatever, doesn't really matter. Alright, then defense is going to be all resist, of course. Armor, life regen, then life. Okay, utility, we want area damage, and then life on hit, and then these don't really matter at all. Okay, so for our skills, we're going to be using Shield Glare right here. So blinded enemies take 20% more damage for 4 seconds. So it's up to you if you want to use that shield where it affects everything. So everything get increase in damage by 20%. That's up to you. Then we're going to be using Akarat's champion to increase our damage, increase our armor, and it also is a cheat death with profit rune. Then iron skin, reflective skin to increase our thorns damage by 300%, but also absorbing 50% of all incoming damage for 4 seconds. Then we're going to be using bombardment with barrel of spikes. Of course, thorns damage is increased by 200% right there. And then we're going to be using condemn with vacuum. Now vacuum, as I mentioned before, anything that has a pulling type or a knock-up knockback type of effects will activate that strong arm bracer's legendary power. So vacuum sucks everything in. It does do that. Okay, so that's why we want condemn with vacuum. Lastly is going to be steed charge with spike barding. So because we're using Bane of the Trap, as I mentioned before, and because of our cooldown reduction, and because we have Swift Mount as our weapon, we're gonna constantly having this up, constantly damaging, which means increasing our stacks of Bane of the Trap, so we don't drop it. Okay, so that's why we have this right there. For our passive skills, we're going to use Fever so that our cooldown is reduced by 15%. Then we're going to be using Finery, so gain 1.5% increase in strength for every gem socket into your gear. See, they said gear too, so don't correct me in that, okay? So that includes legendary gems as well. And then we're going to use Iron Maiden to increase our thorns by 50%. Then lastly, because I have a Hellfire Amulet, I'm going to be using Indestructible so that will help me cheat death again. If not, then use Lord of Commander right here so that our cooldowns for Siege Charge and Bombardment is reduced by 25 and 35 respectively. Okay, so that's why we want to use that. And that's pretty much it for skills. For our follower, we're going to be using the Templar to help us cheat death even more, okay? We're going to be using his Immortal Relic. Then we're going to be using the Thunder Fury to decrease the enemy's damage right there. Then we're going to be using the S of Johan. Reason is that it does pull enemy mobs all together, and it does activate the Strong Arm Bracers as well. So we want to use that. You can use the Bo Cathal's Wedding Band. Extra little tiny bit DPS doesn't really matter at this point. For his skills, you want heal, you want loyalty, you want charge, and lastly you want guardian. Okay, so that is pretty much it for our follower. Alright, so as I mentioned at the beginning, this build is pretty much not for everybody because of how its playstyle is, right? You're pretty much a range character, throwing your bombardments around, and you're trying to survive by pretty much avoiding everything, and you're pretty much synchronizing all your skills up with conventions of elements when it becomes physical. And I look like a motherfucking Gundam. Okay, anyways, so how to do the skills. This is how you do it. So you always have to wait until it hits physical right here in conventions of elements before you do that. So you would want to have Akarat's champion whenever you can up. So let's say now, right? And when it hits like halfway through lightning, go with a vacuum right there, then hit Iron Skin, then hit Bombardment, then hit Shield Glare, so you get the maximum amount of damage as much as possible. Now the reason why we want to have Condemn halfway through of lightning right here so that it can suck the enemy mobs in when lightning goes into physical, because of how our strong arm bracers is. So after 5 seconds it gets sucked in, it'll still have that 20 to 30% increase in damage, and then you have your Iron Skin, and then you have Bombardment, and then you have Shield Glare affecting all the mobs, which means that you have this massive huge amount of damage multiplied for Bombardment to hail down and to kill everything. So that's how that works. So it might take a while to get used to it. So yeah, that's it. I look like a Gundam. Oh my god, I love this so much. I look like a Gundam. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you will enjoy patch 2.4.1 and season 6 and above, okay? And if you like this video, a thumbs up would definitely be appreciated. Questions or comments, please leave them down below. And of course, don't forget to press subscribe. And if you can, please upvote the link that I've linked down below to diablofans.com. And I'll see you guys later. Bye!